So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you all for joining us for the annual meeting of the Plymouth Area Renewable Energy Initiative. So if you happen to be here for the yoga class, the virtual yoga class, you might have the wrong Zoom link. My name is Zach Brohinsky. I've been incredibly fortunate to serve as the president of the board of PAREI since 2018, and I'll be the official MC for the annual meeting. We do have a lot to get to today, including a guest speaker from the New Hampshire Electric Co-op, a message from our state representative, Annie Custer, a few giveaway items, some time to get to know the PAREI board of directors, lots of volunteer opportunities, and what I'm sure is everyone's favorite, the financial report. Before we do get into that stuff, I want to share a few house rules for the meeting. By now, you've likely noticed that you're muted. We ask that you do stay muted until we open the meeting up for either some questions or a more conversational dialogue. So if you'd like to speak, you can unmute yourself at that time. But once you've finished, we do ask that you put yourself back on mute. This is just helpful for these virtual environments should there be any background noise. If you do have questions during any of the sessions, we ask you to either hold your question until the Q&A portions of the agenda, at which point you can unmute yourself, or you can use the hand raise function in Zoom if you know how to do that, or you can type your question into the chat box. We have folks monitoring any questions that come in from the chat box or the hand raise, and they'll handle that when the time is right. You can also stay on after the meeting to talk with staff who will be on until about 2:30 or so, or whenever the conversation subsides. Because we do have a lot to get through today, we're going to try our best to stick to the times listed on the meeting agenda. So periodically, you may hear me jump in, notifying our different speakers of the time, and that we'll need to start wrapping up the conversation. I'll try my best to do that about 2 minutes before the session is supposed to finish. So with that, I'd like to welcome you all to our virtual annual meeting. It's certainly a bit different. And I'd like to start off with a few words from the past year. 2020 was an unusually difficult time, I think, for individuals, for families, for nonprofits. It was a difficult time for our community, our state, our nation, and our globe. Whether we were directly impacted by COVID or tangentially by not being able to visit family or gather with friends, our community reeled. Not that it was COVID, but our PAREI family lost two of its founding and early members in Carl McNall and Chris Buckley. And I know I speak for everyone on our board when I say it was, and still is, difficult not being able to fully grieve or celebrate their lives together in person. Our community took a hit in 2020. But if there's one thing I know about Carl and Chris and everyone involved at PAREI, we are a resilient bunch. We're resourceful. We stand up, not just for ourselves, but for our families, for our friends, for our neighbors, and for our communities. Reflecting back on 2020, it's clear to me how our organization, with its effective leadership and unbelievably committed staff, was able to weather the storm and rise to the occasion, rise to meet the needs of our members, rise to meet the needs of our community when it was needed most. Having been through a challenging year, this annual meeting and series of events is all about celebrating the many sides of PAREI and the work we kept focused on despite the challenges posed by the pandemic. Not only has PAREI grown organizationally with functioning committees, including finance and development, but we recently completed a new strategic plan with actionable items. Our solar and energy efficiency programs are running smoothly. Our New Hampshire Solar Shares program, bringing renewable energy to a new demographic of our community, is paying dividends. We launched a new program, Little Gardens Everywhere, that's uniting neighbors and their gardens to create an abundant and accessible food supply. And our Local Foods Plymouth program, which has been the bedrock of PAREI over this past year, was revamped to meet the unanticipated demand for local foods and whose sales grew to levels we could never have imagined. last spring when the pandemic hit, Local Foods Plymouth missed only 1 week before recognizing it was exactly what our community needed. Staff and volunteers answered the call quickly, increasing efforts to connect local food producers with local buyers at a time when more traditional venues closed or people were concerned by going to stores. We began delivering food to high-risk families. We created an effective way for volunteers and staff to safely gather outside, connect with others, and be part of something that was literally feeding the community. Watching Local Foods Plymouth come alive when people needed it was evidence of PAREI's and the Plymouth community's collective resilience and resourcefulness. It really has been inspiring. And with that, I thank you all for joining us, and I'd like to introduce the other members of the board of directors. What I will do is call on each member of the board, and if you could just briefly introduce yourself and let us all know if there is a program that you are particularly involved with, that would be great. And as I look at my own time, we've got about 2 more minutes before I need to pass it along. So I will start with Jenny, if you could unmute yourself and give a really brief introduction.
Hi, I'm Jenny Highland. I'm a local osteopathic physician here in Plymouth and have my home in Bridgewater. I have solar installations in both places, which has really gotten me involved with PAREI. And I'm particularly involved this year with the Finance Committee and helping to move PAREI into a more ambitious and solid financial goals for the future, helping to position us for the long haul.
Great, thanks, Jenny. I'll pass it down to Sam.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Sam Howe, and I've recently joined the board of PAREI. I've got careers in education and psychology and fundraising, and I am now on the development committee that's helping to grow the whole program, raise dollars, and raise interest and involvement. I'm retired. I live in Holderness with my wife, Julie, and I'm a LFP volunteer, a runner extraordinaire.
Great. Justin.
Yeah, my name's Justin Hardesty. I've been with the board for, I guess, 3 years now, and was working a lot with Chris Buckley and a few other board members and employees to work on LFP in the summer farmers market. And then COVID happened, and I've been living, breathing, and literally eating LFP ever since. So
That's fantastic.
Yep.
Melissa.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name's Melissa Lezick, and I've been on the board since 2018. I'm also on the development committee. I used to live in Plymouth. I went to school there, and I lived there for about 8 years, and then I recently moved to Dover, New Hampshire. But I work for the Nature Conservancy in New Hampshire in fundraising and donor communications.
Great, thanks. Dick.
Thank you, Zach. Dick Hage, been a member of the board for a number of years and a very fortunate beneficiary of a number of PAREI's programs. And so I particularly appreciate that. Thank you, Zach.
Great, thanks. Kim.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Kim Godfrey-Lovett, and I'm sorry, I'm eating my lunch in between a couple of Zoom calls, so I will turn my camera off. I've been on the board for a couple of years and came on with the start of the solar shares, which just is an amazing project that, like LFP, has taken off to great heights and shows the power of this organization to really contribute positively. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Kim. Joan.
Hi, I'm Joan Turley. I've been on the board for a very long time. Currently, I am involved in the Finance Committee and looking at keeping PAREI around for a very long time. And I live in Plymouth and have a full solar array running our house. Oh, and also I am a driver extraordinaire for LFP.
Great.
Thank you.
A couple staff members we'll just introduce quickly. Akludna.
Hi everyone, I'm Aklutna Kenny and I'm the communications coordinator for PAREI, and I'm also the program manager for Little Gardens Everywhere, which has been such a fun project to get off the ground. It has just been so fun.
Thanks. And Lisa.
Hi, I'm Lisa Leary, and I'm a volunteer consultant with PAREI. Been with the organization about 3 years. I've been involved with the Solar Share program, which was terrific, and recently Little Gardens Everywhere.
Great, thanks. And I'll pass it over to Sandra Jones, who will talk through our business report. So I'll take it over, Sandra. Sandra, you might be on mute there.
Thank you, Zach.
There we go.
I echo the words of Zach, and I appreciate the board and everyone else who's here today. Before we move forward, I would like to introduce Michelle quickly, especially as she's a big part of all the finances here at PAREI. So Michelle, can you say hi quick?
Hi, everybody. Michelle LaCroix. I've been with PAREI for, I believe, 9 or 10 years now, working as their bookkeeper, helping Sandra.
We have a great system of checks and balances between our office manager, Robin Adams, and Michelle and myself. And Robin, if you're here, if you could say hi quick. Oh, maybe she's not on.
Hi.
Oh.
I was eating my lunch and just listening. I'm the office manager and I don't have my picture up, sorry.
All righty, well, this is wonderful. Everyone's had a chance to meet the whole PAREI team, and I appreciate so much our staff and our board for everything they've done to support this organization over the last 15, 16 months. It has been a crazy ride, and I appreciate everyone's commitment to just keeping things going and not shutting the doors when that could have been an option, honestly. So I'd like to move on to talk about some of the things that has happened here at the Plymouth Renewable Energy Initiative during the 2020 year. So we'd want to move to the next slide, Pete, showing some of our amazing numbers. So a couple of things, and I'll go through this quickly. I have about 20 minutes for my part of the presentation. I'll try to go through it quickly and then save some time at the end for Q&A. One of the things we're very proud of is we had a number of new people get involved in PAREI during 2020, and a part of that was because of some of our new programming and generally people wanting to support our efforts during the pandemic. So we had 25 new donors choose to support PAREI during a time when they could have chosen other nonprofits to support. So we're proud of that. Zach touched on Local Foods Plymouth. I won't go into great detail because our organization has had a lot of communications about that program, but I wanted to mention just how much it has grown. Local Foods Plymouth, compared to 2019, our revenue grew 530% in the local food and products that were sold to our local community. So in 2019, we sold $21,562 of local food from local farmers, of which there was about a dozen of them, I believe. And in 2020, we sold $136,103 of local foods and products. So you can imagine what that revenue did for some members of our agricultural community during the pandemic when they lost other revenue streams. So we're super proud of that. Solar Shares was mentioned earlier. We have 9 new families in the Warren area that received part of that $5,700 of bill credits on their electric bill. Overall, we have 19 families participating in the Plymouth and Warren Solar Shares project. And that sun kept shining throughout the pandemic, one of the most consistent aspects of the year that I can think of. So I'm very, very proud of the gift that keeps on giving when people donate to build Solar Shares arrays every year. That money goes directly back to families. Our solar PV program, we installed 250 panels, probably about 20% less than we normally do. There were definitely disruptions in a number of ways throughout 2020 that slowed us down a little bit. And we had 14 New Hampshire Saves button-up workshops. That's a side of PAREI that a lot of people may not know about, but the utilities contract with PAREI to bring these workshops statewide. We work with energy activists all over the state to put these on. And then one of our newest programs under the Little Gardens hat is the kitchen-inspired cooking show. We held one in 2020 and started to prepare for the second one, which was earlier this year. Two more programs I want to mention before I get to everyone's favorite financial report, and I'll need the next slide, Pete, is the Moulton Farm project, and of course our Little Gardens Everywhere program. Moulton Farm installed a 15 kW system. If you go to their farm stand and look to the left, this is Jeff Mills pointing to it. And you almost have to point at solar these days because now that all the panels are all black, they blend in and you don't see them as easily. But another side of PAREI that many people are not aware of is our involvement in a program called New Hampshire Rural Renewables. This is a program that we're contracted with through Lakes Region Community College, who receives money from USDA to provide technical assistance and project planning for small businesses. So I want to just take a second to talk about this project in that Carl McNull, who Zach mentioned, is a board member that was a strong advocate of solar energy in the Meredith, Sandwich, and Plymouth community. And one of the last requests he made before he passed away with cancer was, can you work with Moulton Farm and support them in getting solar at the farm? And at the time, the Rural Renewables contract was still in effect. And so we worked with John Moulton, who is just a wonderful business person and easy to work with, and their manager, Jeff Mills. And I'm happy to say, and kind of sad to say, that this project is Frase Electric's last solar PV project. They've been partners of ours on many projects over the last 10 years. And Kim Frase is retiring. And Kim Frase was a good friend of Carl McNull. And this happened to be his last PV project of his time. He is still providing service and warranty support. And then Little Gardens Everywhere, which Aklutna mentioned. Aklutna has done a wonderful job at organizing volunteers and working together with a number of different mentors and Chris Buckley's wife, Jen Morris, to pull together this program that encourages people to vegetable garden and collaborate with neighbors. And just, again, the whole idea is increase the amount of food grown locally, making us a more resourceful community. So now into the financial report. I'm just going to take a sip of tea here. Revenue, 2020 revenue. Even though it was an absolutely crazy year, we held our own. I'm really proud to say that. Again, thanks to our active board and staff and membership. In 2020, we had a revenue of $509,000. That was down about 15%, 16% from 2019. So less revenue than normal. And a couple of things I want to point out about our revenue is the grants and PP loan, that number of 46,800. All of those grants had to do with COVID. That's unusual for obviously. Most of our grants are very project specific and or overall specific, but these were grants from the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation, the state of New Hampshire Governor's Nonprofit Emergency Relief Fund, the New Hampshire Electric Co-op Foundation. And all three of our grants were for the purpose of keeping LFP going because of that heightened demand for local food and getting food out safely through curbside pickup and home delivery. So without that response from funders, we would have had a really hard time ramping up LFP. So I'm thankful for that. The PPP loan was a $25,000 grant, and I'm proud to say that that loan kept every single person who was working for PAREI on the payroll, and in some instances increased hours, and actually a new employee during the pandemic. So I'm thankful for the federal government's assistance there. We had an increased amount in individual donations at 35 grand. You can see that big number with LFP. Again, last year, it was probably 25,000 when you add a little income beyond the food sales. And then membership was very strong through LFP. New members for PAREI was down, but our renewing membership in PAREI was up. So that was a big support to us, knowing that people were renewing their membership, knowing that we might need support in 2020. So we'll go to the next slide. So the cost of goods is a big number at PAREI because solar equipment is expensive, as is all the food we buy to process through LFP. So, so that 500 grand of revenue might look like a big number, but a big chunk is taken off when we're paying for solar equipment, paying for subcontractors who we hire to install solar, and buying that food from the vendors. So that $116,000 is the money that's going directly to the farmers, Huntoon Farm, Longview Farm, a number of small farmers that only sell eggs and just a smaller amount. We had a new farm out in Pike, New Hampshire. So lots of income going to small food making vendors and farmers. So cost of goods came in at $276,000. We'll go on to the expenses slide. So we tightened our belt during 2020, knowing that it could end up being a tough year. It ended up not being as tough financially as it could have been. But as you can see, we spent the majority of our money in 2020 on wages. And I wanted to mention this because again, that PPP loan allowed us to increase hours to meet the demand of LFP. It allowed us to hire an extra person. And so our wages to staff grew 19% during the pandemic. So those grants that were for the purpose of keeping people paid and in a job, it worked the way it was intended. And that wasn't something planned, but it's certainly something that happened. And we're proud of that too. So what I don't have in the slide, oops, I forgot to mention it, is the net revenue for PAREI. So after the revenue minus the cost of goods, minus the expenses, we came in at a net revenue of $10.67. And the board was very pleased with the fact that we were in the black, although several of them thought, oh, if only I donated another $10, we could have come out even. So we did dip in a little bit into our short-term reserve to help us beat that, but only by about $2,400 do we dip into a CD, kind of a rainy day CD we had in the bank. So, so PAREI made it through 2020 okay. Zach, how many more minutes do I have left?
You've got about 5 minutes left.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so you can go to the next slide, Peter. So one of the things I want to just talk about for 4.5 minutes is our strategic plan. So something really great happened for PAREI at the end of 2020, capping off a crazy year. We received a 3-year operational grant from the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation for $57,000. That money's not reflected in our 2020 finances as it came, the award came at the end of December. So it's in 2021's finances. We had applied for that grant a year before and kind of had some tough love from the Charitable Foundation. They really like the work we do. They're really proud of all the projects they've supported us in the past, but they wanted us to think really, really big picture. And PAREI's not so great at that, mostly because we're just so involved in building solar projects, building solar shares, running LFP, starting new programs, running workshops. So the board, several of the board members and I met together to prepare a 5-year strategic plan. And I just want to touch quickly on a few of them. And the biggest is the Endowment Fund. And we're so thankful to have Sam Howe and Melissa with specific experience in development, as well as Kim, to help us work towards this goal. We have set out a goal. It says 750,000 on our strategic plan, but we've set out a goal of reaching $500,000 in our endowment fund by 2025 in order to provide operational support down the road for the next generation of energy leaders and community leaders. We are convinced that PAREI is needed beyond our time right now. There's been no time when our membership has stopped coming in, so we know we need to prepare for the future. So we're going to be working very hard over the next 5 years to identify people that are interested in helping us make sure PAREI is here for many, many years to come. And you can go to the next slide, Peter. One of our other things that I wanted to talk about in our strategic plan is creating a cohesive and efficient public interface and virtual and visual presence with the community. As this annual meeting has shown, we have many sides of PAREI, many more than we did back in 2004, 2005, 2006, when we were all about installing solar water heating systems on people's homes. Thanks, Zach. So we are kind of taking a look at it. How do we present ourselves differently? Do we change our name? Do we combine all our websites? Do we change our logo, our mission? We're not going to really change our mission because we're all about reducing and producing energy, because all of our programs falls into that. But do we need to do something differently? So there's going to be a lot of conversation about that with our board and membership. The other one I want to point out is that we want to build a third New Hampshire solar shares array. So the original goal was to have one in Pemmy-Baker Valley, Plymouth, and Holderness. So if you're from the Holderness area and want to participate in helping us develop a third array in the Holderness area that will be for Center Harbor, Meredith, and Holderness income eligible families, we would like your support because we'd like to see that end finish by the end of 2021. So that's part of our strategic plan. We have some projects in our strategic plan, and we have some really big picture goals as part of our strategic plan. So that's my report. I'd like to at least give it a minute or two for questions, if anyone should have one about the information I presented.
It's always good to give folks another minute considering the technology. So if anyone has questions or comments for Sandra, feel free to share them now. Otherwise, sounds like we might be able to move on. If anyone does have questions, feel free to either post them in the chat box or stay after, and staff members will be available to answer questions then. So with that, I think I'd like to pass it over and introduce board member Melissa Lezick, who has an interesting video message to share.
Hello again. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. I wanted to thank you all for joining us today. And as part of this meeting, we're happy to share with you a brief video message from Representative Ann Custer that she so graciously recorded for all of you, our amazing PAREI members. So in following this meeting, we'll be sending you a link to this video if you would like to watch it again. And also there will be a link to her new clean energy agenda as well, which she mentions in the video. And I just wanted to personally thank you all for supporting PAREI, whether it be through LFP, our newest Little Gardens Everywhere program, or New Hampshire Solar Shares, and continuing to encourage and be a part of energy conservation in the community. So without further ado, we hope you enjoy the video.
It's great to be with you today to talk about how we can work together to combat the climate crisis. I should begin by thanking you all for the work you've done as members of the Plymouth Area Renewable Energy Initiative. I joined many of you in August 2019, before COVID-19, at the New Hampshire Solar Shares site in Plymouth. And it was such a pleasure to learn firsthand about your program to get low-income families connected to the benefits of solar energy. I was heartened to hear that over $5,000 in solar energy credits were distributed to households in the program in 2020, which, as we know, was such a difficult time economically for so many families. To know that solar energy can ease the financial burden for families, as well as get us closer to a carbon-free future, is truly a win-win. Your programs exemplify the best of what our clean energy future can look like. Last year, I released my Clean Energy Agenda, a blueprint for Congress to take real action on climate change, using common sense solutions that will have both immediate and lasting results. Facilitating the expansion of renewable energy through the extension of federal tax grants and expansion of grant programs will transition America and the granite state to a clean energy economy, lessen our dependence on foreign fossil fuels, and achieve a resilient, reliable electric grid. Investing in energy efficiency will help Granite State families and businesses lower the cost of their heating, water, and electric bills and reduce our overall energy demand. Protecting natural spaces and sensitive ecosystems from the disruption of pipeline construction or harmful fossil fuel byproducts will preserve our environment and wildlife for future generations. And along the way, we'll overhaul our transportation and building infrastructure, creating high-paying, skilled jobs in New Hampshire and across this country, and position the United States as a global leader in addressing the climate crisis. Now is the time to take on this issue. With the new Biden administration willing to work with Congress to tackle climate change, I am feeling hopeful about our ability to meet this moment. This administration has emphasized a whole of government approach to decarbonizing our economy. This looks like incorporating environmental justice in our social policy, investing in climate resilient infrastructure, protecting conserved lands and natural resources, and much, much more. In my role on the House Energy and Commerce Committee and the House Agriculture Committee, I have a unique position to advocate for policies that will set us up for a clean energy future. A recent project I've taken on is urging the Biden administration to allocate infrastructure funding for the 3 Rs to retrofit, rehabilitate, and remove hydro dams along our rivers. Not only would this effort improve the health of rivers by removing unused dams that prevent fish passage, it would also leverage existing dams to provide clean, carbon-free electricity to the grid. We know that renewable energy such as solar, wind, and others can have huge potential for growth. And I believe that hydropower installed on our existing dams can be a key bridge that will allow us to get to a carbon-free future, cleaner and faster. There is no one silver bullet to fighting climate change. Tackling an issue of this magnitude requires innovative solutions across the board that will bring everyone to the table. I look forward to continuing to work with many great partners in our state, including the Plymouth Area Renewable Energy Initiative. Thank you for your innovation, for your energy, and for the opportunity to speak with you today. Best wishes on a productive annual meeting.
Awesome. Thank you, Rep. Annie Custer, for that message. So I think we will move on to everyone's favorite part of the program, and that is our giveaways. I'm just kidding, it's not the best, but if you win, it might be. So I'm going to work with Aklutna, who has the prizes. And she can share each prize with you on her screen, and she'll explain each prize as we go through them. How we are going to do this today, because we are virtual, makes it a little bit more complicated. And I also didn't want to create 100 different sheets of paper and fill it out and put into a hat. So I have a generator of numbers on my phone. But before we get to that, please find the chat box and get that ready. So you can find the chat box by hovering over the bottom of your Zoom screen and clicking on the chat icon. So I'll give you a couple seconds to get that chat box up on your screen. And while you're doing that, Aklutna can present the first giveaway.
Our first giveaway is a $25 gift certificate to LFP that you can use on anything that you'd like. I guess, do we want to do this one first?
Sure, that sounds great. So what we're going to do, everyone is going to put one number into the chat box between 1 and 100. Any number between 1 and 100, put it in the chat box. And while you're doing that, I'm going to generate an automatic number on my phone, and I'll let you know what that number is. I'll give you a couple more seconds. And now you tell me when you're ready.
The numbers are still coming in.
Okay, give it a couple more seconds, 10 more seconds.
They seem to have stopped.
Okay, all right, the number I have on my phone is 45. 45. So whatever number is closest to 45 wins the $25 prize.
It looks like Mariana, you won the $25 gift.
Nice. All right, Mariana. Great. So, so Mariana, we will get with you after the annual meeting, and we'll send you the prize in the mail. Just email, or Aklutna will email you for if there are any address updates.
So our next raffle item is this Earth Day Everyday t-shirt.
That's
Probably
awesome.
backwards right now, but it's really soft. It's really cool.
All right, let's put our numbers in the chat, 1 through 100. All right, we good?
I think so.
All right, the number I have on my phone is 12.
Wow. Looks like Craig, you won.
All right, Craig. Yahoo.
We have a tie, I think.
We have a tie?
Oh, there's
Yes.
a tie.
Jerry and Craig are both
One.
10. I think they're both 10, so we have to have a runoff.
All right.
This
So
is unheard
just,
of.
so just, I think it's just going to be Jerry and Craig.
Oh, we have 2 t-shirts.
Oh, there you go.
Okay, thank God.
Thank God.
So our last raffle item is this, our Energy Star, the Sun children's book, which is really cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
All right, put your numbers in the chat box. Is this our last prize?
It is our last prize.
Great. Okay. All right, 5 more seconds. 3, 2, 1. All right. So the number I have on my phone is 95.
Right, let's see. Looks like Jerry Beck.
All right.
You won.
Awesome. Congrats, Jerry. All right, I guess that concludes our giveaways. Thank you all for participating.
Oh,
Hey,
wait,
Peter,
I just got a message. Peter has one more gift to raffle off.
Oh, perfect.
So these are hard to see, but they are a series of 10 LFP garden markers. And they can be used, they're 3D printed in my home. And you can just either do them for the end of your rows, or they're designed so you can put that little piece of paper in there to say tomatoes or whatever you want to do in a garden thing. So there'll be a package of 10 of these that you can use around your garden. So
Thanks, Peter.
made locally with local electricity, solar electricity, making these things. The plastic, I don't know where that comes from. Also, as pointed out, great toothpicks. So.
Well, that's pretty awesome. Can I put a number in the chat? No, I'm just kidding.
I'm keeping
Probably
myself
win
out.
because I have the number generated on my phone.
We'll just generate the number afterwards.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I was just joking.
Okay, everyone put your number in.
All right. All right, 5 more seconds. Okay, the number is 28.
Let's see. Zach,
Oh, Zach.
you won.
Heyo,
I think it's Zach.
I think so.
27.
27 finally paid off.
Play the lottery tonight, Zach. Play the
You got-
lottery.
You got that right. I was aiming for the kids book, but I'll take the toothpicks.
All right,
Great.
very good. Thank you all so much for playing. And Zach, you want to introduce our next slide?
I would love to. I'll have Peter go ahead and flip the presentation back on. And I would now like to introduce board member Dick Hage, who will introduce our speaker.
Thank you, Zach. Before I get starting on introducing Craig, I want to make sure Jerry is willing to come over and read a bedtime story to him. Well, as my fellow board members know, I'm very pleased to have this opportunity to introduce New Hampshire Electric Co-op's Vice President Craig Snow, and really especially for a couple of reasons. One, because NHEC has been such a terrific partner with PAREI in supporting our initiatives over the years. And secondly, to both thank PAREI and NHEC, because it's had a personal impact on 2 of our family homes here in Plymouth, our daughters and ours, through 6 different projects that this partnership has made possible. A solar hot water installation, a solar array installation, a couple of heat pumps, and both homes with button-up projects through NHEC's Home Performance Program. Craig's presentation will cover NHEC's energy efficiency program, beneficial electrification, demand response, renewable energy, and I think, Craig, you'll be sharing findings of the co-op's recent climate survey.
That's correct.
Craig joined NHEC 12 years ago, but he's had over 30 years experience in implementing and managing energy efficient solutions throughout Massachusetts and New Hampshire. So prepare your questions after to ask after his presentation, because I'm sure he will have, with his tremendous experience, helpful answers. So Craig, thank you very much for joining us and doing this presentation. And with that, I'll turn it over to you.
Well, thank you, Dick, for the kind words, the nice introduction, and also for participating in NHEC, some of NHEC's energy efficiency programs. One of the hardest challenges that we have is getting the word out to folks about these programs, and certainly appreciate your participation and all of you participating today and allowing me to present this to you. I'm going to start off. Let me see if I can share my screen here, if everything goes smoothly. I get a message, the host has disabled participant screen sharing.
You're all set now. You should be fine.
Okay. And can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay, perfect. All right, so we're going to start off today with sharing some of the program information, some of the Energy Solutions program information that NHEC offers to its membership. On the agenda, like Dick referenced, we're going to start off with core electrical efficiency programs. We'll move on to some beneficial electrification programs, and into demand response, renewable energy, and then the climate survey results. So looking at the core electrical efficiency programs, just a little bit of background. These programs were established in 2002. These particular programs are regulated by the Public Utilities Commission. They're currently following the guidelines of the New Hampshire Energy Efficiency Resource Standard. This was a 3-year plan that was put into effect for 2018, 19, and 20. Now, we have submitted a new filing for the next 3 years that is currently at the PUC waiting on approval. So at this point in time, we are carrying the 2020 program budgets and goals and operating off of those budgets. These programs are offered statewide through a collaborative efforts of Eversource, Unitil, Liberty Utilities, and NHEC. And some of the programs are co-branded as New Hampshire Saves, which some of you might recognize. The programs are funded by a statewide system benefit charge, which appears on your electric bill each month. And in 2020, that system benefit charge amounted to just under 0.7 cents per kilowatt hour of usage. The NHEC 2020 budget was $4,375,805, and the 2020 savings goal for New Hampshire Electric Co-op was 10,110,653 kilowatt hours. And just as a little aside, that equates to the usage of about 1,685 average NHEC members. So, and that's just in that 1 year alone. So moving into the core program offerings, there's a number of programs. Most of these are electrical efficiency programs, but there is some fossil fuel savings in these programs also. The first program on the list is Energy Star Homes. And basically this program offers incentives to members who are constructing new homes. And the program focuses on promoting energy efficient construction techniques. Second on the list is Home Performance with Energy Star. This actually aligns with some of the efforts PAREI has done with the Button Up New Hampshire programs. This program is focused on existing homes by providing incentives for energy efficiency upgrades, such as insulation, air sealing, and lighting upgrades. Next, we have Home Energy Assistance. This is basically a low-income version of the Home Performance with Energy Star program. And that's followed by Energy Star products. The suite of programs provide incentives for the purchase of various Energy Star lighting and appliances. We have a small commercial and industrial program that provides incentives for energy efficient lighting, HVAC, and custom measures. A similar program for the large commercial and industrial members for efficient lighting, HVAC, and custom measures. Then a municipal program that provides incentives to municipalities for efficiency upgrades and weatherization measures. And then finally, what we call a Smart Start program. So it's an on-bill financing option for commercial and municipal members that install energy efficient upgrades. Moving on to beneficial electrification, you might ask, what is beneficial electrification exactly? So beneficial electrification is defined as replacing fossil fuel devices such as oil or gas-fired heating devices or combustion vehicles with highly efficient electric alternatives. The end result of these is the lower overall energy cost for members, reduced dependence on fossil fuel, reduced greenhouse gases, and a sustainable business model for utilities of the future. Looking at some of these beneficial electrification programs, first on the list is high efficiency heat pumps. Some of you may be aware of those. Basically, we offer incentives to members who install air source or water source heat pumps in their homes or businesses. And the incentives for this program can be up to $1,000 per installed ton of qualifying equipment. We also offer incentives for heat pump water heaters. Basically, this is a heat pump style water heater to replace existing domestic water heater systems in folks' homes. The incentive for heat pump water heaters is currently $750 per unit. And electric vehicles, we're excited to be in the electric vehicle market, if you will. We offer incentives to members who purchase or lease battery electric vehicles or plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. So for a battery electric vehicle, we offer $1,000, and for a plug-in hybrid electric vehicle, we offer $600. A couple of years ago, we even had a member who purchased an electric motorcycle, and he received a $300 rebate for that electric motorcycle. So electric vehicles we see as the future in both New Hampshire and nationally. There's a lot of good that will come out of it from carbon savings, but there are some things that we have to be cautious of. And one of those is the increased demand on the electric grid, and especially that affecting demand peaks during certain times of the day. We'll get into that a little bit more as we go along, but to counter that threat, if you will, we've developed a residential EV charging program. And basically, we offer an incentive of $300 towards the purchase and installation of a level 2 charger, which is also combined with an exclusive off-peak EV rate for members. And this is all in an effort to promote off-peak charging. So charging those vehicles at night when there isn't as big of an impact on the system grid. So currently, for example, as of May 1st, the current charge per kilowatt hour is 14.604 cents. Participating in that off-peak rate, if you charge off-peak, the kWh charge for that electric vehicle is going to drop to 8.72 cents per kilowatt hour. So you can see a significant savings. As a deterrent to keep people from charging during the daytime or to encourage that nighttime charging, the peak rate is 19.143 cents per kilowatt hour. And basically those off-peak times are from 9 p.m. at night to 7 in the morning, and that's Monday through Friday. Weekends are considered off-peak. So additionally, on the EV charging front, we offer a program to commercial members. If they install a level 2 or higher EV charger at their commercial location, we'll give them up to 75% of the installed cost, up to $2,500, and we'll allow 2 of those chargers per location. Now, moving on to demand response, we touched on this just a little bit, but demand response, well, let me back up a step. The electrical efficiency programs are all about conservation. The beneficial electrification programs are about converting fossil fuel to efficient electric programs. Demand response programs are about shifting load from one time of the day to another time of the day. And this is where we get into the peak demand charges. You may be aware that not all kilowatt hours are equal as far as cost goes. While you see the same charge for 6 months at a time on your electric bill, the co-op actually incurs a variety of electric charges per kilowatt hour based on the time of day. So this peak demand period, there's a number of different peaks. There's an annual peak that determines the pricing for the coming year of electricity. There's transmission peaks, which happen monthly, and there's local peaks, which happen monthly also, like the transmission peaks. So in an effort to reduce those peak demand periods, which have a direct impact on the cost of electricity to our members, we incorporate these demand response programs. So basically, like I said, they shift usage from one time period to another to ultimately, we want to flatten the usage on the grid. I mean, obviously, it's very peaky. Those peak demands are what influence the pricing. So legacy load management, this is something that's been in place since the 80s. Basically, it's a program which offers members incentives in exchange for control of specific electric devices at the members' homes. Some of those controlled devices include conventional domestic electric hot water heaters, electric thermal storage heaters, and conventional electric heat, as long as folks have a backup heat source. So there's a switch in the members' homes. We control that switch with a radio frequency. If we see a peak period coming, we switch that device off for a couple of hours till we get past the peak, and then we switch the device back on again. In addition to the legacy load management program, we have a behavioral volunteer program. We call it Peak Days. This was introduced in 2017, and basically it's a behavioral demand response program which notifies participating members of forecasted peak events on the electric grid and asks them to voluntarily curtail usage during those times. Now, this program is primarily focused on that annual peak, which happens usually between June and September each year. Last year, it actually happened late in July, in between, I believe it was hour ending 6 p.m. or hour ending 1800 that it happened last year. So we send out between 8 and 12 of these messages a year. Again, this is a voluntary program. Folks can sign up for it. We send out the notification via either email, voice message, or text message the day ahead, notify them of a peak event coming, and they curtail usage, not all their usage, but anything they can do during that peak demand period helps. We currently have just under 25 members participating in this program, and that's a combination of residential and commercial accounts. And we get a pretty good bang out of this program. There's a lot of people that are conscious of the impact of the peak demands on the electric prices, and we really do appreciate folks working with us to help reduce everybody's electric costs. Moving on, we'll step into renewable energy, and we'll start off with net metering. So as you are all aware, you're very familiar with, NHEC has provided a net metering option to members for a number of years. We continue to support renewable energy growth through member net meter interconnections and through the continued purchase of renewable energy credits for members who install systems in their homes or businesses. So just to put some magnitude to it, as of March 31st, 2021, NHEC actually has 11.221 megawatts of installed PV capacity from member-owned systems. And that does not include our own Moultonborough solar farm. So it's a significant amount of PV systems on our distribution network, and it goes a long ways towards renewable energy and supporting a lower carbon footprint. So we certainly appreciate PAREI and their efforts towards this initiative. Renewable Choice is another, it's a lesser known program, but it's another program that we offer, and we can probably do a better job of marketing it. But basically, supporting renewable energy generation is one way NHEC members can reduce greenhouse gas emissions and air pollution. NHEC is on track to comply with the New Hampshire's Renewable Energy Portfolio Standard, it's abbreviated RPS, which may be familiar to some of you. It requires the purchase of renewable energy credits equal to 25% of our power supply by 2025. Members who wish to go above and beyond that goal and support renewable energy development can purchase RECs through this Renewable Choice program. These REC purchases support the development and operation of renewable energy from local solar and wind facilities, and member REC purchases through the Renewable Choice program are above and beyond NHEC's RPS requirements. So continuing on this program, a few details. Members can purchase REC blocks for $3 a month. Each block represents 100 kilowatt hours of renewable energy attributes. The average residential member in New Hampshire Electric Co-op uses 500 kilowatt hours per month. So purchasing RECs equal to 100% of that usage would cost that member an additional $15 a month. Every 1,100 members who purchase RECs equal to 100% of their usage through the Renewable Choice program increases NHEC's overall percentage of renewable energy by about 1%. So not insignificant. As I mentioned, Moultonborough Solar a few minutes ago. This is actually a great picture of the Moultonborough Solar Array. It's obviously located in Moultonborough. Its details behind that. Construction began in January of 2017, and it was commissioned in December of that year. At the time, and for a couple of years after, it was the largest solar PV array in the state of New Hampshire. The array consists of 8,000 panels and 40 inverters on 12 acres of land. The output of that array is 2.59 megawatts DC or 2 megawatts AC. The total project cost was approximately $5 million, and we're seeing great generation from that system since we installed it, with the 2020 generation at 3,410 megawatt hours, or enough electricity to power approximately 600 NHEC member homes. So a nice project. The next slide is, this is a press release that's actually going to come out in the next couple of weeks. So you guys will be some of the first to hear about this, but NHEC is actually partnered with a third-party company to install a 2.5 megawatt hour battery at the Moultonborough solar site. So this has been done to learn how batteries and solar systems can operate together and ultimately reduce the peak. Again, this is a peak demand reduction effort. So the final commissioning is expected to be completed in June, late May or June of 2021. You will see a press release on this in the next couple of weeks. So basically the way it's going to work is this third party will dispatch this 2.5 megawatt battery capacity into the NHEC grid at times when we project the peak demand to be high. We see that happening approximately 100 times a year, and that's going to reduce that system during those peak usage periods. And by doing so, will assist in reducing future electric rates. So this is an exciting development for us. We see batteries playing a bigger role going forward. And this is us stepping into that in a process to learn, like I said, how those batteries can interact with our solar system out in Moultonborough. So last but not least, we'll jump into some climate survey results. So NHEC actually partnered with some members of your organization on these climate questions and trying to develop philosophies for NHEC as we move forward and climate becomes a bigger and bigger issue. And to be honest with you, an issue that more and more people need to be educated about. So we worked with folks from your team and came up with a survey regarding this climate situation. The objective was to gain perspective on how NHEC members view climate change, to determine member awareness of climate issues, and to gauge members' perspective on NHEC's role in the climate issues. So we had a number of questions, 7 questions, which I'll share with you today. And unfortunately, I've got the bar right across the top of the question here. Yes, I can. Okay. First question, on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 not being concerned at all and 5 being extremely concerned, please rate your concern about the adverse environmental impacts of climate change. So this is a little bit hard to read, I apologize, but basically the red bars starting at the top is a 1, and then it goes 2, 3, 4, 5, with the bottom red bar being the 5. So 1 is not at all concerned, 2 is slightly concerned, 3 is somewhat concerned, 4 is moderately concerned, 5 is extremely concerned. So if you look at bars 3, 4, and 5, somewhat concerned, moderately concerned, and extremely concerned, that actually equates to 71.36 of the respondents reacted in that manner to this question. Moving on. Question number 2, different forms of electricity generation produce different amounts of greenhouse gas emissions. Burning fossil fuels produces the highest amount of emissions, while some renewable forms, solar and wind, produce little or no emissions. On a scale of 1 to 5, again with 1 not concerned at all, to 5 being extremely concerned, please rate your concern about greenhouse gas emissions from the generation of electricity. Again, the number 1 bar is the top bar, the number 5 is the bottom. If you combine the bottom 3 bars, somewhat concerned, moderately concerned, and extremely concerned, we see 70.59% of the responses were in that somewhat, moderately, or extremely concerned category. So interesting. Question number 3, are you aware that New Hampshire Electric Co-op participates in the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, or abbreviated as RGGI? RGGI is a multi-state program that caps regional CO2 emissions from fossil fuel power plants. We saw an affirmative answer of 28.31%, a negative of 62.56%, and uncertain of 9.13%. So this is something that there's not a lot of people, obviously, that are familiar with this. It doesn't necessarily impact them in their day-to-day lives. It just points to another thing that we can educate memberships a little bit more about. Question number 4 is actually 2 parts. So state law currently requires 25% of the electricity distributed in New Hampshire to come from renewable sources by 2025. Would you like to see NHEC exceed the state's current goal of 25% renewable energy by 2025? And the qualifier on this particular question is if the cost of doing so was no more than what you presently pay for energy. So we saw 72.52% of the respondents answer yes to this question, 18% no, and 9.46% were uncertain. So part B of this question is we asked the question, if the near-term cost of doing so modestly increased your electricity costs, again, versus the no increase in the previous question. And we saw the yes answers drop to 50.9%, the no's jumped to 33%, and the uncertains jumped also to 15.77. So not surprising, but great information anyhow. Question number 5, should NHEC promote the development of renewable energy generation facilities located in New Hampshire over out-of-state renewable facilities? On this one, we saw an affirmative of 56.76%, a negative of 13.51%, and this one was an interesting answer, but not unsurprising, I guess, that there was an uncertainty of 29.73%. So they really didn't maybe appreciate what the impact of that question would be, or the answer would be. So we saw a much higher uncertain percentage on that question. Question number 6, should NHEC take a more active role in educating its members on the environmental impacts of the energy we use? Again, 67.57% on the affirmative, a 17.12% answered no, and 15% uncertain. And then the last question in the survey relative to the climate piece, should NHEC set a climate goal to reduce the emissions of its own operations, its facilities, vehicles, internal power usage? And we saw 65% say answer yes, 18% answer no, and 16% answer uncertain. So that, unfortunately, I think I skipped over some demographic information I didn't cover, which I'd like to. This survey was actually sent out via email to 2,000 NHEC members. We received 225 completed responses, or a response rate of 11.2%. Typically in surveys, you get a 4 to 6% response rate. So we're very pleased with the 11% response rate. It actually went out to a mix of 80% residential, 20% commercial members. It went out to all segments of the population or the membership of NHEC, and it went out to equally to all districts. So with that, I will close my presentation with a picture of our EV. This is a company EV we purchased in 2017 or 18. It's a Chevy Bolt. It's used pretty much exclusively by our program administrators, our energy solutions program administrators, as they travel to member sites to work in incentive applications or inform members about the events, or even at public events that we hold. Some of you are aware that prior to COVID, we were starting to host EV events twice a year, usually one in Meredith and one in Plymouth, and this Bolt is at that event every year. So additionally, we've just recently added a Tesla Model Y to our electric fleet, learning more about the high-speed charging, Tesla's capabilities, and plan to continue adding electric vehicles to New Hampshire Electric Co-op's fleet and reduce our carbon footprint. So at this point in time, be happy to take any questions you may have, and hopefully I can answer them.
That was great. Thanks so much, Craig. Boy, a lot of information and some really interesting survey results. I think it'd be great, maybe if we could exit the presentation, great. And we'll open it up to questions and comments for Craig.
So a lot of information. I mean, I'd like to add, I mean, I didn't get into program particulars on the individual programs very deep. All of that information is available on nhec.com. If you go to the Save Energy tab and under rebates, it gives you program descriptions and applications, or you can also call into member services at 800-698-2007 if you have questions on things. So
Greg, we do have a question from Craig Cadger, which is in the chat, is where is NHEC with considering residential batteries to help with demand response?
So it's a great question, and it's actually something we've been working on for about 4 years now. 3 or 4 years ago, we installed 4 battery systems in employee homes. 2 of the systems were installed in locations where there were solar PV systems installed, and 2 were installed in locations without PV. 2 of the systems were a Tesla battery system, and 2 were a Sonnen battery system. So we installed them to try and learn how these battery systems were going to interact with our grid, to learn how we communicate, how well we could communicate with those systems, so on and so forth. We had hoped to expand that battery project, and we were very close to doing that with a major battery supplier, and we were hoping to be able to announce that this spring. Unfortunately, the battery supplier had priority issues that caused them to back away from the agreement that we had. So we're re-looking at other vendors that may be able to help us with a residential battery pilot. In the near future, and it probably won't be 2021, but shortly afterwards, we hope to have a program designed for bring your own battery, where we'll be able to provide some sort of an incentive to members who purchase batteries and either curtail usage during peak events or dispatch their battery capacity into the grid. So that's kind of where we are today. Unfortunately, I don't have anything else I can share more detail-wise, but it is something that we're very interested in. We feel that batteries are the future and will play a huge role in energy efficiency. And we're doing all we can to learn more about them and potentially offer programs to our members.
Greg, this may be a question that may not be able to be answered right now, but what was the funding mechanism for the Moultonborough project? Did that come from system benefit charges? Where did that money come from for the $5 million?
It was actually funded through member rates, or it is funded through member rates, but we were able to secure very attractive financing, extremely low interest rate financing through our lender that we utilize on a regular basis. So ultimately, the savings from the battery process as far as peak charges, hopefully will pay for the majority of that system. And it does have a 25-year life, but the initial investment did come through through this loan that we secured through our lender.
Okay, thank you. And Kim had a question. It seems hard to find EVs to buy in New Hampshire. Some dealers say they can't sell. Do we have any idea why that is?
Yeah, so it's complicated. So I think there's originally, it goes back to Tesla being the first manufacturer to offer electric vehicles. And I think that there was a lobbying effort by the automobile dealers associations in certain states that wouldn't allow Tesla into certain states. So they were successful in succeeding in that. And unfortunately, the New England states were some of those, but other states they are available in. So that's specifically dealing with Tesla. This Tesla that we just purchased, I actually purchased it out of New Jersey. And there's a distribution point in New Jersey. So the Tesla business model is unique and really kind of interesting and future based, whereas the majority of it's pretty much done online. So you go online, you make a small deposit, $100 on the vehicle, you place the order, and then you get contacted from the distribution center in New Jersey where they are allowed to sell them, and you make arrangements to either go to New Jersey to pick up the vehicle, or they will ship the vehicle to your home location. So it was a pretty seamless process, like I said, with the Tesla business model. There is no competition pricing wise, so you're not going to one dealer versus another. They have just set pricing for the vehicles. So it was painless as far as the purchasing experience, which I'm sure a lot of you can relate to. It's not always the most pleasant experience when you go buying a new car and dealing with the different dealers and so on and so forth. In addition to that, there is a slight complication that New Hampshire never moved towards being a ZEV state, a zero emission vehicle state, which I hope that changes. They are talking about, or there's legislation out there that propose to develop a Department of Energy for the state of New Hampshire. And I hope they reconsider their participation in that ZEV association. And that will also bring more electric vehicles to New Hampshire, to the dealers in New Hampshire to be sold. So the bottom line is dealers that are in ZEV states, they get the bigger proportion of electric vehicles because they're supported, if you will, in those states. But that being said, anybody looking for one, I'm sure that you could secure one. I haven't heard of anybody that was unable to buy one, maybe unable to locally, but you can reach out to Massachusetts or if it's a Tesla to New Jersey, or just go online and secure a vehicle that way. So it's a learning curve, it's a development curve, it is evolving, and it will get better.
I just want to interject. We're almost at 1:50. I think there might be a couple other questions, so I think it's worth going a little over our time. So I do see one other question, so I'll turn it back over to Peter and Craig, but I just want to pay attention to time.
So this is from Sandra. I heard Liberty Utilities suspended their home performance insulation program. Is there any concern that NETC may have to do the same?
So this is the complications of that 2021, 22, 23 filing being delayed. There was a significant increase in the budget in 2021 in that proposed filing. Because the filing, and as a result of that, it takes months ahead of time to ramp up for these programs to be launched. And in that ramp up, and I know Phil Lamrose on the line here, I see him, he's actually the program administrator at NHEC for the Home Performance with Energy Star program. So he could speak to it better than I, but what's happening is there was a big push anticipating this bigger budget to subscribe programs. I feel they're probably close to or beyond what their 2020 budget was, not seeing the approval imminent for the 2021 budget. They may be oversubscribed or at subscription. We are actually doing, our subscription level is very strong also, although we aren't ready to close the program down. This funding level does have a significant impact on program participation and how long it can stay open in 2021. Phil, did I miss anything or anything you'd like to add to that?
I don't think you did, Craig. No, I can say that our, if the 2021, 2022 plan is approved, we'll see maybe a 10% increase in funding next year. But while we have a lot of interest in the program, I think there's still a short, the contractors that implement the program are still pretty far out in scheduling work. So, I think we'll be able to continue accepting applications. There may be a short period at the end of the year where we may have to defer some of the work into the beginning of 2022, but I think it's unlikely that we'll have to really shut it down the way that Liberty or Unitil will.
So the other thing that comes into play is we feel very strongly about the benefits of this program. So we do have the ability to flex funding from other programs that are underspent under PUC guidelines to support this program. So hopefully we can keep it open for the entire year. We don't have plans of closing it at this time.
Okay, I think we have one other question. What was it like to have the vice president visit NHEC?
It was extremely exciting. I was fortunate enough to be one of 4 NHEC employees involved in that process. And I actually, from the beginning, which was only the Saturday before the event when we got word that they were coming, I worked with the advance team from the White House, which was about 25 folks, and also a multitude of Secret Service folks, starting Sunday and all the way through Friday of the event. Originally, we were looking at the Meredith District and the Plymouth headquarters location, and the White House didn't actually decide on which location they were going to use until Wednesday afternoon. So we were doing some pretty heavy scrambling. It was really an interesting experience from my personal perspective, all very professional people to work with. Logistically, my brain works that way anyhow, so it was fascinating working with all these different groups from the Secret Service, the different teams. We actually had Department of Defense folks there. We had Pentagon folks there, obviously state and local police. The whole site had to be swept with dogs beforehand for security reasons. It was a fascinating experience. I was honored to be a part of it. And I think it was a historic event in the Hampshire Electric Co-op. It was just cool. So, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think you summed it up. It was just cool.
Yeah, it was. It was really cool. I mean, it was really something.
That's great. Well, thanks so much, Craig, for coming, and Phil for hopping on there at a last minute. So thank you both for that time and all the information. If folks have additional questions or comments, feel free to pass them to any one of our board members or staff members, and we'll make sure to get those questions answered for you.
And thank you very much for inviting me to join you today. We really appreciate the partnership we have with PAREI and working with all of you folks. It's been a pleasure, and anytime I can add anything to your events or support or share information, happy to do so. So thanks again, and have a great weekend.
Thanks so much, Craig. Well, that was great. A lot of information. So I guess we will switch our brains a little bit, and I will turn it over to Lisa Leary for a conversation about some other sides of PAREI.
Thank you, Zach. Great. Can we go back one slide before you reveal that slide? I'm just going to talk for a minute. So the Many Sides of PAREI was created in part to help people understand about all the great programs that PAREI manages, but more importantly, to let people experience the many sides of PAREI. So all this week and part of next week, we've had, there are opportunities to volunteer with hands-on events, to attend workshops and learning events. And when people are doing that, they're getting to experience the energy and the passion and the purpose of these many sides of PAREI. And I know that we have some volunteers here. We have Mariana and Sam. I don't know if you guys want to spend a minute just talking about your experiencing PAREI through your volunteer work this week. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I just did.
Oh, I'd be happy to jump in for a moment. And I think it'd be even more interesting to hear from Mariana, who just started yesterday. But I've been volunteering at LFP. As I said, I'm a runner for the bags that are the the grocery bags out to the cars. And it's a fun and interesting and community building part of the work. It's really extraordinary, in fact, to see the gratitude and the interest that people who are just picking up their groceries have in the program. And so, Marianne, I jump in and say what it was like for you yesterday.
Well, Sam showed me the ropes, so thanks, Sam. But you know, it's a pretty ingenious system. Obviously, yesterday was the first time I actually saw how it worked. And in New York, working as a farmer and with different farms, we were always trying to think of like, how can we get a distribution center set up to get all this produce to people who need it? Nobody could ever figure it out because there was refrigeration issues and travel with the food, all kinds of problems. But this it works so well. It's very much like, you know, a well-oiled machine. These farmers come, they drop it off, everything gets packed, it's pretty seamless, and then it gets put in people's cars. Like, I don't know why other places haven't been able to figure this out, but it's great. I mean, it's simple, it's straightforward, and it's a whole new revenue avenue for all these farmers that otherwise wouldn't have existed last year. And, you know, farmers markets suffer it a lot of times because there's not enough traffic coming through, but this way, like, just the right amount of produce is delivered to the person. There's much less waste. I mean, there's just so many things about it that are amazing. So I'm a big fan.
Oh, well, thank you. Thank you, guys. And we're so grateful to have you to volunteer. And if you continue, Mariana, people will be, you know, raffling off squash and things like that. So lock your car doors this fall. So anyway, we would like to continue to build on that enthusiasm and the people that are supporting PAREI through their volunteer acts. And so what we did, or what Sandra did with her team, is put together a long list of opportunities to support PAREI through volunteer acts. And we thought that it was best to organize it in a way that would be familiar to skiers. So we have green circle opportunities, which are easy. So for example, you can just share a $5 gift card for Local Foods Plymouth with 2 friends. So you get the cards from us and then you deliver them to friends. You could go to I'm looking at the 4th bullet down, just go to our Facebook page and make a comment or like something. If you could commit to that once a week for a month, that would have an impact. We have in bold the one that we would love to see someone do was find a family who's low income or an individual and urge them to join New Hampshire Solar Shares. They get to learn about solar electricity and they get free electricity credits. I mean, what's not to love about that? So those are some easy opportunities. I just want to interject here and just back up to say, there are long lists here. These are just things to see if you're interested. At the end of this presentation today, at the close of our meeting, I'm going to put a SurveyMonkey link in the chat. You can click on it. It will give you all the opportunities to support PAREI. All you do is click the box that says, I'm interested in doing this thing, you know, like sharing a gift card, for example. You just click it in the SurveyMonkey and then we'll follow up with you in a couple of weeks. So I'm just going to read through them quickly and then you'll get the SurveyMonkey link. So if we go to the next one, these are blue squares. Blue square opportunities, a little bit more challenging. You do the next slide. Here we go. So we have events. We have a workshop coming up for gardening, for yoga for gardeners. And we just need posters hung up around town. Maybe you'd be willing to put a few posters up at Agway or the farmer, you know, wherever makes sense. Deliver local foods Plymouth orders. So Joan does this, but it's simply taking food and delivering them to people who can't get to Local Foods Plymouth by 5:30 on Thursdays. So easy, but really valuable. And then we've got the black. Joan, did you want to say something?
No, I just said it's a fun way to meet some of the people, the recipients. You know,
Yeah.
As long as we're messed up, they have some great things to say.
Yeah, and you're so grateful too. And then we've got the Black Diamond opportunities. So the one in bold is to join the Development Fundraising Committee. Or donate to PAREI's Endowment Fund for future operations. I think the last one, installing a solar PV array, might be a double Black Diamond, but you know, that's a cool thing to do too. And the first one, donate one peach tree. We're putting in an edible garden at the Solar Share site in Plymouth, and we've already gotten one tree donated. So that opportunity is going fast. So anyway, we're going to send you guys again the SurveyMonkey link at the end of this annual meeting, and then we'll stay on the line so if people have questions about the particular opportunities to support PAREI. And we want to thank everyone who's volunteered and continues to support and volunteer with this great organization.
Thanks so much, Lisa. I see, Sandra, you unmuted yourself. Did you have something to say there, or Sam?
I just wanted to thank Lisa as well and encourage even board members to take a look at the SurveyMonkey, because there might be a little something on there that we haven't asked you to do or haven't talked about at board meetings. So if you take a minute and check it out, that would be helpful. I just want to make sure everyone's finding that link in their chat. And Lisa, are you putting it in there?
I thought we decided we would wait until the close of the meeting.
Okay, great. So I just want to encourage everybody, even if it's just giving out the LFP gift cards, to consider checking something off on that list.
I also want to emphasize that everything in this meeting, this video, Annie Custer's video, another video of Annie Custer where she talks about her plan, all that type of stuff will be on the PAREI site. It's plymouthenergy.org/2021-annual-meeting. And I put that in the chat as well. So that link will be there. Everything will be on the site as the week goes on. So you'll be able to go back there and find anything you need to.
Peter, if you could just put that link once again in the chat box. I know it's way up at the top, but it might be easier for people to click on right away.
Yep.
Well, I think that concludes the annual meeting. Yeah, thanks to all the staff, board members, volunteers, donors for everything you've done to keep PAREI going over the years throughout 2020 and well into the future. So thank you, everyone, and we look forward to a fantastic 2021 that's already well underway. So I know some staff and some board members will be staying on, but that does conclude our 2020 annual meeting. So thanks, everyone, for your participation, and we look forward to seeing everyone in the next year.